Aloha Hawaii, this is Pokalainui and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. On radio station KWAI 1080 on your AM dial, we are produced by the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. The opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of this radio station or of the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. Today is the 14th day of April in the year 2012, and it's now 4 o'clock or 6 minutes after 4 o'clock here in Honolulu, Hawaii. We are broadcasting from the top of the Chinese Cultural Plaza here as I look out across the Kalihi Valley. Is it Kalihi Valley? Or the, yeah, I guess it is, up in Honolulu. And this afternoon we'll be talking about a number of issues, one of which has just caught my attention, and that is that so-called stillborn child was found in a coffin 12 hours, I believe, or maybe less than that, by the child's mother. We'll talk more about that and a number of other issues. But before getting into that, why don't we sit back, enjoy this music, Kaulana Napua, and I'll be right back. Aloha Hawaii, this is Pokalainui and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. I've just returned from America, more specifically New Mexico, and participated in a conference that took me all week. I left Monday and arrived yesterday, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the conference as we get into this program. But first, turning to the news, or what appeared in the newspaper. I don't know to what extent we can really call it the news, but there's talk about on Friday, but a report that came out of Argentina, and that is where a mother finds her stillborn, quote, stillborn baby alive in a coffin. What an interesting concept, or an interesting event. A mother in Argentina says she fell to her knees in shock after finding her baby alive in a coffin in the morgue nearly 12 hours after the girl had been declared dead. Analia Bouter named her newborn Luz Milagros, or Miracle Light. The tiny girl, born 3 months premature, was in critical condition but improving Wednesday in the same Resistencia Hospital, where the staff pronounced her stillborn on April 3. I guess that means dead, doesn't it? The case became public Tuesday when Rafael Sabatinella, the deputy health minister in the northern province of Chaco, announced at a news conference that the 5 medical professionals involved have been suspended pending an official investigation. And let's see, gave her the death certificate just 20 minutes after the baby was born, and that she still hasn't received the birth certificate for her tiny girl. A week later, the baby is improving. Bouter said she still has many unanswered questions about what happened. She said she had given birth normally to 4 other children and doesn't understand why doctors gave her general anesthesia this time. She said she also doesn't know why she wasn't allowed to see her baby before the girl was put into a coffin. She says the family plans to sue the staff at Hospital Pirando for malpractice and still wants answers. Some people say, well, no harm, no foul. Was there harm in this case? The baby is alive and seems like it's coming along well, although it may have been somewhat traumatic for the mother to have heard that the baby had died, but the baby is alive, or maybe having exhibited all the signs of having been dead, now exhibits signs of life. So it will, I think, present an interesting case, but besides the legal aspects of this case, I reflected back to Hawaiian practice, and of course I'm not a physician, I'm not a cultural expert, neither do I claim to be an expert in the birthing process. It would be quite obnoxious. That's not the word. I know I am quite obnoxious, but quite presumptive to even suggest that I am an expert in any way in that matter, especially being a male and having never experienced the birthing process as well. Okay, given that, and I don't know if we can so easily set that aside, but given that, and to engage in this discussion, let's look back at Hawaiian birthing process and my little understanding of that birthing process. And of course, you women are more than invited to call and join this conversation. At times, it is believed by the Hawaiian practitioners that when a baby is what is called a blue baby, or on the verge of, or has been stillborn, blue because of the lack of oxygen, I guess, flowing through the child, or through the newborn. What the Hawaiian practice would be is to take the afterbirth, which is still warm given the body temperature of the mother, and placed next to the blue baby, to the infant. And that would assist in very quickly preserving the life in the child and bring the child to survival. The theoretical basis is that the mana that has been separated between the newborn and we call it the placenta, I guess, the afterbirth, there is still that connection between the two, and to separate too quickly, the baby is not ready for it, and so the life force then leaves the child, and I guess one could say is still in the placenta. And by the bringing closer from one to the other, it assists the baby in its recovery and life. In this particular case, I don't know if the placenta was also placed in the coffin along with the baby, which had been declared dead after birth. It's interesting to look back at Hawaii's history and another case, a very famous case, in which the child was pronounced dead. And what had happened was that one of the specialists in childbirth, and probably specialized in many other medical concerns, had taken the child and had seen the spirit of the child on a cloud. And as a result of seeing the spirit of the child on the cloud, called the spirit down to enter into the child's body. The child survived and ended up to be the king of Hawaii, the third of the Kamehamehas in that line of rulers. There were other Kamehamehas like Kamehameha Nui, but from Paea Kamehameha to Kamehameha II and then Kamehameha III. Kamehameha III's name was Kauike Auuli. To see the life of the child on the dark cloud. And so the name of the child is a name after the spirit of the child having been seen. So that's a story of Kauike Auuli. He lived to the age of, I think, about 45, and maybe a little later than that, and of course had a very difficult, challenging period in his lifetime, and died of, I think there were certain toxins that he was intoxicated with, and that was, of course, alcohol, and so died as a result of that. But to have lived for that long a period of time, having to be such a great contributor to modern Hawaii, to the written constitutional format of Hawaii, so that Hawaii became a constitutional monarchy, bringing in many principles of democracy and still holding on to the more traditional governorship of monarchy for Hawaii. Quite different from what the English had as their monarchs. So that was that particular case. I invite you to call and to share your knowledge or experience of other events very similar to what had happened in Resistencia, Argentina. I think it's a very interesting topic, and it delves more than just a mistake of the hospital. But is there a cultural practice that has been lost, misunderstood, the movement away from one's ancient culture? Because it is my view that this idea of placing the placenta next to the child is not practiced in Western medicine anymore. I must also say that my informant with regards to the practice of birthing children comes from a woman who is a member of my extended ohana, and her name was Tutunalu Simeona. She was a nurse, and she was a court interpreter, pure Hawaiian, who says that when she was born, she was so small that she could be placed on a person's palm. She was premature, and as a result, fed in a particular way through the top of her head, and the food was absorbed through her skull and into her body. So, the testimony of an individual who passed on, I would say, about 20, maybe 25 years, no longer than that. Approximately 25 years ago, at about the age of 93, 94. She came from the island of Hawaii, from the Kona district, and was a member of what family was that? Now I forget the name, the Mahi family. Okay, Tutunalu Simeona, married into a Simeona family. A long history with regards to that family, but anyway, that was the informant. If in case you are asking, well, where did you get this information from? It was from her. If you would like to call and share an opinion on this matter, our telephone number here is 524-1080, and you can also join in and inform me of additional practices with regards to child birthing. In the meantime, I'll continue to talk if you don't call, so it's sort of a warning that you may want to call and stop my babbling on. As I say, from a man who I consider to be very difficult just by one's being of the opposite sex from the birthing process, should always step back and allow the women to take charge of the conversation. So our telephone number is 524-1080. Give me a call. We'll put you on the radio and see what you have to say about this subject. Continuing on, because we have not received a telephone call yet, Tutunalu would also say that in this childbirthing process, it was a practice of the native Hawaiians to prepare a warm cup of water, and they would put Hawaiian salt into the water. And after the mother had birthed the child, and there may be uncertainty about how much of the afterbirth has come out, to secure the fact that the afterbirth has come out, what they would do is give the mother a cup of salted water to drink. And they would have, and she would have, for example, her daughter, who had just recently given birth, drink that full cup of water, and as a result of drinking that salted water, she would immediately, and they would sit her up, and then she would immediately pass the afterbirth out. I don't know if that practice, I am quite sure the practice doesn't continue in the hospitals anymore, but as we move towards birthing at home, if there is such a movement towards birthing at home, that might be a practice that may be considered by people. If it works for the Native Hawaiians, it may work for others, so you be the judge on that matter. Okay? Again, our telephone number is 524-1080. And there were some other discussions about practices of child care. I won't get into that, and I will just leave the subject at that point if anyone would like to call. Now, there is a second subject I wanted to raise, and let me see if I can find the page in the newspaper. This comes out of the Friday newspaper, and on Saturday's newspaper, and I saw it, and then I misplaced the paper itself, and it was an individual talking about Hawaiian sovereignty. And somehow, and I had his name in the article, I had wanted to call him to mention that I would be talking about his article, and he should feel free to call in. It's in this morning's paper. I don't have the paper with me, or at least I can't find it right now. I think his last name was Forsyth or something like that. And he was saying that with regards to Hawaiian sovereignty, the opinion poll had been taken, and the majority of the Native Hawaiians do not support Hawaiian sovereignty. And why would they? Because they have such a good life at the present time, and they would not want to go to, I think, I forget where he had mentioned, as an independent nation and actually have worse conditions than they have now. I didn't think the article was very well informed. It didn't give any real background or say where he got his so-called opinion poll from. And I think the article had more a shock value or a wild statement value to instigate discussion rather than being factually based. And I caution people that if one is going to make such statements, at least show the foundation upon which one's statement is made, and then be ready to defend it or have enough information in that foundation to at least justify your conclusions. I'm not saying you're not entitled to your opinion. Everyone is entitled to my opinion. Everyone is entitled to an opinion. Need not be my opinion. But not everyone is entitled to their own facts. And at least we have to be straight with the facts, and then we can try to devise a theory or a basis for these facts based on one's opinion. So I'm not saying you're not entitled to your opinion that sovereignty would not be good for the Native Hawaiians. But when you try to make a factual statement based on an argument rather than based on some foundation in fact, then I think you need to reconsider your sort of what we call logic model on how you reach these conclusions and investigate that. Okay. All right, and moving on to another article that has recently appeared, and this is in Friday's newspaper. You see, I'm going through the newspaper so intently now because I had not been in Hawaii over the past 5-6 days. I've missed the articles that have appeared, and so I'm only now going through them. Okay, we do have a telephone call, and so I'll take a call right now. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. Aloha caller, welcome to the program. Yes, sir.
Yeah, did you just refer to a letter to the editor that appeared in a newspaper, I think maybe yesterday?
Well, I thought it was this morning that it appeared, but it was dealing with sovereignty. It referenced John Waihe'e asking Native Hawaiians.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sovereignty not a popular idea?
Yes, that's the one.
That's the one, huh? Yeah. Okay. Now, see, in the first place, I think the letter is referring to the Kauinoa effort. right?
I'm not sure. When it referred to John Waihee, I thought it was.
Oh yeah, right. But well, okay, sure. He starts off with a question that John Waihee asked:
Mm-hmm.
do you support reinstituting a sovereign Hawaiian nation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he goes on to say, well, judging by the decade-long effort, and I think he's referring to Kauinoa here. Yeah?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what other effort he might be referring to.
Yeah, he didn't specify what effort he was talking about.
But I think that's when he's referring, because that one is very prominent, or has been, right?
Okay.
We have seen the announcements in which you see people like Raiatea Helm,
Mm-hmm.
thinking Dennis Kamakahi, who have said that I have placed my name, so it's quite prominent.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, based on that, the answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
But, like you say, I think this man is not really connected to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as you know, Poka, there's many Hawaiian nationalists who are opposed to Kauinoa.
Yes.
So
and still support the sovereignty.
oh, yeah.
And the other part is that Kauinoa as a process was merely an inscription process, not for sovereignty,
Right.
but just to identify the Hawaiians. So I don't think that would be an appropriate measure. It measures two different things.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he goes on to, I guess, second the motion, right? He draws his errant conclusion, and then he goes on to second the motion there to give his endorsement to that, and state that, hey, they already live in the most wonderful country. Yeah?
Yes, yes.
Which, again shows how this man really is
Persuaded already.
Yeah. From, I think, the background to this issue, as well as the present conditions. Let's take a look at one of our present conditions. How come it's not such a great country? We have people who are attempting to restore fish ponds in order to... they are aiming at regaining some degree of food self-sufficiency. But they have the obstacles of, for one thing, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And so they have to go and spend a lot of money and time to assess, well, what will be the environmental impact of this? And they are treated as if they are commercial developers.
Yeah.
You see. Now, what is wonderful about that? I mean, they are merely trying to restore something that was here, well, a long time ago, that we know worked very, very well, and very doubtful that it had any adverse environmental impact. But here they are, having to expend a tremendous amount of money, not just in the hundreds, but in thousands and thousands of dollars and a lot of time, and having these people who are from that other country that occupies us, having to approve it.
So what you're saying is that you cannot really test sovereignty accurately at the present time, given all of the stumbling blocks that the native Hawaiians or anyone who supports sovereignty would have to pass through.
Well, that's a good point.
Through.
I didn't really mean to bring that up, but that's another excellent point. What I was trying to say is, he says, well, they already live in the greatest country on earth.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I mean, do you think that's so great when they have to go and do that? I mean, it's hard work already trying to restore the pond.
Right. You know
what? Get it to work.
Yeah, I need to go to a break, but before doing that, what is the name of the writer of that article? Do you have the article in front of you?
No, but as I recall,
okay.
his name was Doug Winhoff, I think.
Winhoff.
Yeah.
Okay. All
from Kailua.
Okay. Because I don't have the facility for doing it, would you mind at least trying to look in the telephone book, see if you see his name?
No, it does not. I tried. I tried that book. Okay. I tried on the telephone. Hey, Mr. Winhoff. But I don't think he got all your facts lined up. You probably didn't even take the time to do it when you wrote that.
Yeah. Normally, what I would try to do is give the guy a call and invite him to listen to the radio, and if he wanted to call.
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Because it's kind of unfair to be nailing a guy without he's even knowing that he's been.
Well, to me, we're not nailing him. We're nailing what he has put out there.
Yeah.
I mean, him personally, I don't know the guy personally from Barack Obama, I cannot comment on him personally, but when he puts out these
he has to stand responsible for
statements in the public. I'm going to shoot at the statements. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's it.
Kaulana na pua o Hawaii Kupa ama hope o ka aina Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino Pala pala anunu me ka paka